Hi, I'm here with Chagai Cohen. Hi, Chagai.
Hi, how are you?
And you've been participating in my course on 60s music
Right.
for a few years, and we're here to talk about the Beatles.
Finally, I'll know something.
So, what would you like to ask me about the Beatles?
I have several questions. First of all, why the 60s and why the Beatles?
Why the 60s and why the Beatles? Well, why the course is about the 60s?
Yeah, right.
The course is about the 60s because that is when Dylan met the Beatles and that is when the musical revolution took place. And what we ask in the course is whether there was a revolution also in the spirit of humanity that went along with this musical revolution. And the Beatles were right in the forefront.
Okay. Is the revolution in the society was affected by the music, or the music affected the change in society?
I think both. You know, it's like some kind of resonance. We always speak about resonance.
Yes.
I think that you listen to the music, it resonates with you, it changes how you are, and you change how the music is.
Is it just the music or the lyrics as well?
I think very strongly that it's also lyrics. As you know, in the course we talk a lot about Paul Simon and especially Leonard Cohen. And when we talk about the Beatles and we study just a few of their songs, we try and look at songs that have strong lyrics as well as strong music.
What made this music classical?
That's a good question. First of all, the classical music. The Beatles were lucky to have George Martin.
I mean classical.
But I'm going to answer your question in both ways. So first of all, the Beatles had a classical partner, and that was George Martin. So part of the special character of the Beatles is the classical elements that they have. And we talk about this a lot in class. For example, we play Eleanor Rigby without the singing, and then you can hear the 8 strings playing. Something spectacular. Eleanor Rigby, and she's leaving home. There's no guitars playing and drums. It's all strings. So classical music is part of the Beatles, mainly because of George Martin. And the Beatles became classic for 2 reasons. In the course, I talk about Thomas Kuhn, who talked about a paradigm shift, but he was referring to science. And he said something that I think we can also use in music. He said that in order for there to be a shift, you not only need an innovation, but you also need the important people, the experts, the critics, to embrace that shift and say, wow, this is the real thing. Well, in the case of music, the critics and the experts are really us. It's a crowdsourced event. So the fact that I come into the class, I'm teaching kids in their early 20s, okay, and we're now celebrating exactly 50 years since the Beatles started to make a real revolution with these 3 records: Rubber Soul, Revolver, and Sgt Pepper, 65, 66, 67. When we look at the Beatles with the young people and we sing together 50 songs, I see a lot of people in the audience, young children who know the words to the songs. And if they don't know the words, then they know the music. So it's something special and unique that a rock and roll band from the 60s has such a long-term resonance. It's past, the sands of time, if you will. It's filtered through these generations. So music that we listened to in the 60s, our grandchildren are listening to, and they're listening to Beatles. And you know this from your grandchildren.
Yes, but my question is, another question is that who pushed it into the public, who made it public domain, this kind of music? The young people or the older people?
The Beatles, the theory goes that at the beginning the Beatles were mainly, Beatlemania, teeny boppers who had enough money to spend, the 1960s. The kids are a little bit richer. They have money to spend on albums and on sheet music. But mainly the Beatles at the beginning were propelled by a younger, by 14 to 17-year-old kids, maybe even younger kids, as opposed to people like Dylan and Peter, Paul, and Mary, who were more like had a university audience. So at the beginning, the Beatles had a teeny bopper audience, But then, as they progressed from being craftsmen to being artists to being artisans, as Dr. Kovacs says in his course, they began to assemble a audience of everybody.
To what year it really got into the jukebox?
Okay, in England in '63, and in America in '64. Those were the years. And in '63, the Beatles start to, well, at the very end of 1962, they have one medium-sized hit, I think Love Love Me Do, in Britain. And then in '63, they came out with Please Please Me, which goes to #1. And that's followed by a cascade of early Beatle classic hits. She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, I Saw Her Standing There, Can't Buy Me Love, and so on.
Well, it's very interesting. I missed all these years in this music. I was
You were in the wrong place at the right time.
I was in the wrong place at the right time. Yeah.
But you see, now we're playing catching up.
Yeah, I'm
So-
catching up. I'm not really identifying so much with the music now
Yeah.
because it's not the beat that I like, but the lyrics are fantastic. Sorry, the music is fantastic.
Okay.
It's very good. It's good music.
Yeah, in the course, we try and concentrate on just a few songs that have strong music and strong lyrics. So we could be teaching songs like "Hey Jude," but I feel that the music is great, of course, or "Let It Be," but the music is great, but the lyrics are poor. So the songs that we teach in the course, from Rubber Soul, let's see, from Rubber Soul we teach In My Life,
Yeah.
a very strong personal song of John Lennon. And then in Revolver, we teach Eleanor Rigby. I usually sing Here, There, and Everywhere because that's my personal favorite. In Sgt Pepper, so we're going 65, 66, 67, I think we do, I'll tell you in a second, we do A Day in the Life, the song that closes the album, which is really a sandwich between a John song, and in the middle we have a interlude of a Paul song. And the lyrics are very strong in all these three songs, and these are really the three albums that made the Beatles beyond a very popular 60s band to an eternal 60s band.
Do you emphasize in the course the effect of the words on the public, on the audience?
Well, Sgt. Pepper, 1967, I don't know if I'm allowed to show this, but you can't really see it, but this is one of the first albums in the world, if not the first, that's a kind of a theme album, or it's supposed to be a theme album. Sgt. Pepper, Lonely Hearts Club Band, and so on. The songs are really not connected. Later in the course, we teach an album by the Moody Blues, which really is the theme album. But the Sgt. Peppers here, they're making an attempt, and all the lyrics are on the back, which goes to say it's not just about the music. We want to write something, we want to affect your lives with the lyrics. So I would have this, look, one second.
Sing along with us?
Of course.
Yeah.
But a song like Eleanor Rigby, okay, or She's Leaving Home, it has to move you.
Yeah.
These songs have to move you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Haggai.
You're welcome.
That was very exciting.
Good.